Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again today. This is Kendall, and we are doing another Sparkle and Shine interview series. Today, I have the lovely, wonderful Pam Lorenz, sorry. Uh, Her name's, look, I'm already messing up. You guys are used to this. Like, Kendall makes mistakes because you don't script these things. I don't want to script things. So life is not scripted, and that's part of the reason that we do these sparkle and shines in such an organic way. Nonetheless, I am Kendall of New Oregon Content Creation Services, where entrepreneurs and small business owners hire me to repurpose their existing content so they can increase their visibility, reach, and maximize that content plus their time and energy that they've put into it so they can focus on their clients and other things that they love. I have, once again, Pam Lawerenz of the Brick Wall Coach, where she is a business consultant that coaches ambitious, action-oriented, Gen X service-based entrepreneurs. If that's not a mouthful. So she coaches them and consults with them to help them to build, grow, and create successful, sustainable businesses. I will let her talk a little bit more about herself. I'm very happy for all of you to have joined us today. This month of September, we are going to be weaving in the theme of harvesting, reviewing, planning, and saving. So look forward to lots of information and tips. Pamela has been in business for a number of years, which she will tell us about. She has a number of experiences in all segments of life, and I'm sure that she has more than enough tips to share with us today. So Pam, thank you so much for being here again. And please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do as a business, and let's get rocking.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's great. I love to have these kind of conversations. Oh my gosh, so a little bit about me and my business, and I could go on forever, you know me. So let me see. I am currently residing in South Carolina, but that is new to me. My husband and I just moved here last July, and it was a dream of ours. So we set this 5-year goal, hoping that we could hit it, and we did in year number 5. But, you know, all the things that go into trying to make a huge move from New England to the South had to be taken into consideration, including selling a house and leaving behind family and friends and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big deal for me, a really big deal. But I started let me say, before I even go into the business part, I'm a mother of 5 grown kids. I have 6 grandchildren, ranging in age from, oh my gosh, what are they now? 8 months to almost 11 years. So super blessed in that aspect. And my goodness, so I started my business as a side hustle back in 2009. And then I decided that I wanted to do it full time. So I, formed my LLC and did all that good stuff back in October of 2014. And when I first started out, of course, I was an online business manager in accounting because that's what my background is in. I went to school for both business management, administration with a minor in accounting. And I have worked in the business world for over 3 decades. So I have held various positions. I worked at a senior high school for several years. Then I decided it was time for me to move on. So I went to the healthcare field and I was an administrator there for about 9 years. But all of that kind of working got in the way of raising a family at the same time, and my kids were little back then. And it was hard for me. It was a hard struggle as a mother to have to leave the house so early and be gone so late, and it didn't feel right. So I kind of thought, time to move on again, but what am I going to do? And of course, I have lived in this community my entire life back in Connecticut, and everybody said, run for office, run for political office. You'll be great at it. And I'm thinking, me? Great at political office? So I did. I ran, and I got voted in as revenue collector. So I did that for about 12 years. And of course, on top of that, it meant that I had to go back to school for 3 years and then pass a state exam. But it kept me in my hometown, and it kept me working hours that were easier on me, easier on my family. But then, of course, the kids started getting older. So as kids get older, they don't need their mom as much, or so they think. So I just found myself absolutely saying yes to pretty much everything. Being, various member of a board, of a commission, of volunteering for Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and fundraisers, and I pretty much went 7 days a week. I just got tired of the whole political scene, of having to run for office, of just not being challenged anymore. Like now, you get into that role of you get up, you go to your job, you complete your job, you go home, you do all the various stuff, you go to sleep, you get up, you do it all over again. It was like so routine for me, and I didn't feel challenged, and I thought, I need to do something else. And that's really in 2009 when I was sitting on a library board. One of the members had approached me, and his wife was ill, and he said, I need somebody to step into that position just to keep us afloat, a few hours a week. And I thought, why not? I have plenty of time. Plenty of time for that. So I did. I said yes, and I actually worked for him up until the time that I left Connecticut last summer. I kept my original client all those years.
Wow.
So yeah. And he was just such a great guy. He ran a financial advising company and did, tax returns and everything under the financial umbrella. So it really did challenge me, and it made me think about, okay, not only was I now using my accounting skills more, but just the whole managing of his employees and, organizing his clients. And as I got ready to leave, we transitioned him from a brick and mortar into a virtual business. And that took about a year. But it was well worth it. And it was a great way for him to go into his retirement years.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, Pam. Thank you so much for sharing.
I told you, it's a lot of info.
I know. You have such a vast amount of experience. And, because we've been connected in the online space for quite some time, and we've had other conversations and, follow each other and things like that. I knew some of that, but I think I learned a couple of things actually, in a little more detail about some of your previous experience and, kind of what led you to, this business, the Brick Wall Coach. I want to just mention for our listeners that in case you didn't notice, Pam was already talking about the theme this month of reviewing and planning and harvesting, even the saving part. Every single piece of all the information you shared actually can be drawn back to, I have small kids and the time and the energy and being away is too much. And that's a review. That's reviewing, like, where am I at right now? What do I need? What does my family need? What do my children need? How can I be more present with them? And then planning for that. Like, what do I need to put in place in order to make those things happen? And then sort of harvesting that, especially the political piece where you ran for office and you were a revenue collector for 12 years. Essentially what you're doing is you're sort of harvesting that time and that energy so that you could be with your kids while serving your community, while growing yourself, while staying connected, while, and until the point that you are ready for another change. And So I just want to just kind of highlight that and throw that out that I think sometimes when we're in something, we maybe don't draw that, excuse me, that we don't, excuse me. You're welcome. The 6-year-old, everyone, decided that it was time for his pencil sharpener after I got on with you guys today. So anyway, at least they're staying occupied. So, but again, I mean, even that's a little bit of it, right? But when we're in our mess, some people want to call it mess, when we're in our chaos, when we're in our busy, when we, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to put there, sometimes we don't see that the steps that we're taking are all of these other much more planful sort of steps that need to be taken. Okay, well, there was one inside of there, so go, I know it doesn't fit, so just hold it in your hand and use it, because that's the one that it is. I'll be doing some editing, it looks like. I mean, he literally was just standing there. Okay, so where was I? Okay, if you have a response, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, sometimes what it takes is that outside perspective to bring it full circle. And especially when you are running an online business, that is one of the most difficult things to say is, hey, I need you to hold my hand, or hey, I need a second set of eyeballs on this, or can I run something by you? It's very different than running a brick and mortar where people are there. You're most likely, if you're running an online business, you're in that space by yourself, or you feel like you're by yourself because you're looking around and you've got a cat or a dog next to you, and that's it. No people to reach out to, like in a regular office setting. So it's nice to be able to talk to people like that. And that's when you discover and uncover all these little hidden gems of, oh, you're right. This is what this meaning is. Yeah. Or look, I am headed in this direction. It's the right direction. Or, wait a minute, I'm over here. I'm supposed to be way over here. And they'll help you get back on. So yeah, I think it's really important to talk to other people and get that connection, because that's when you begin to realize, yeah, this is life. I mean,
absolutely. And again, like that is part of the whole Sparkle and Shine series, is that even if we can't always talk to one another, sometimes if we can just watch or listen or hear, like, oh, okay.
Exactly. You get those little gold nuggets. I mean, you can be listening to this while you're doing something else, but yes, you're listening and you're like, wait a minute. Yeah. I need to rewind that. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those aha moments.
It is those aha moments. And in today's world, with the rise of online businesses, and the rise of actually people seeming to be much busier in some ways than maybe 10 or 15 or 20 even years ago. And so with the rise of all of this and the rise of technology, what I find interesting is that we have all these various sources for which we can consistently get nuggets as people are busier and or more disconnected, period. The research is there. I know that I actually know, because I follow you and stuff, I know that sometimes this is what you talk about, is that you, in sort of that consulting, coaching space and those activities that you provide for your clients, I know that you also sort of give these other nuggets like, hey, go to a networking if there's one near you that makes sense. Like, go seek one out. or listen to an audiobook, or find a podcast, or, you know, watch this series, or you have a series, like, or, I mean, there's a number of people, and largely, I think what most of us are doing, and tell me if you agree with this or not, but I think that with what most of us are doing, whether we're running a business or not, is that we're actually really trying to make sure that we are connected to people, and that people are connected to us, and that we can share that energy of community, even in the hard, you know?
Yes.
What do you think? Tell me.
No, absolutely. It is about the connection, whether it's positive or negative that we have to share. It is all about being connected to other people. So for instance, on LinkedIn, one of my platforms that I use is LinkedIn. And I made, you know, you set these goals for yourself. So one of my goals for this year was to make sure that I was using the LinkedIn platform more to my advantage. So when I moved down here to South Carolina, I decided I'm no longer going to run, and I may not have said that piece before. I was running my business partially online, partially in person. I knew so many people in my community, so when I broke out and said, I'm doing this business, I picked up local clients, which of course was great for me then. But I made the decision when I moved here that I wanted to do it just online. And I wasn't going to run in-person workshops like I was doing back in Connecticut. I wasn't going to do any of those things. I needed time and space. And then this year, I decided, you know, It Doesn't Hurt on LinkedIn is a great example of reaching out and being able to connect with people in your greater community. So not only reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce, but reaching out to people through LinkedIn of, hey, who lives around me in this area? And if they're close enough, do you want to meet for an in-person coffee instead of a virtual?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to this workshop? Do you, you know, somehow just making those connections. It is super important.
It is. And, you know, with the background in social work and the belief in people and ability and connection and relationship and whatever word you want to put there, is that actually it's a necessary aspect of all of our lives. Really, truly, no matter what, it's a necessary aspect. I won't go super deep into it, but most people probably have generally heard, or especially people who may have been parents or around parents, people who are parents, have probably generally heard a word or a term like failure to thrive. This is actually a really true thing. I'm not going to go into it. There's medical aspects. There's all sorts of psychological. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm not going there. However, one of the key components to determining whether or not a child, a young person is having a baby, because it happens to infants, has failure to thrive is whether or not they're getting connection with people, whether or not they're getting relationship. So just like I said, like this is a real human thing. And the more that we weave this in to our day-to-day or our weekly, or, you know, then the more that we grow as people, the more that we help other people to grow, the more that we allow everyone to have that space and that energy and that time, those nuggets, that reflection, that, oh, that's something I never heard of. Let me go explore that and see if that fits for me or not. And it really is whether or not you run a business or not. Obviously, I'm running a business and Pam's running a business. So we largely talk about it in that space. However, as Pam just mentioned, even within her business, she's like, hey, we live in the same general area. Why don't we meet up for coffee? That is taking that one extra step while still doing the thing without always being about business. I'm pretty sure that some of your coffee chats with people that may have happened locally already in the last year have been about more than business, right?
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, take me in Connecticut. What I tell people, I lived in the middle of the woods. So on 3 sides of my house, I was surrounded by woods. I was out in pasture land. So I had cows, I had lots of woods, we had tons of you're stuck in the boonies kind of thing. I moved down here to South Carolina and we're like out in the open. To me, this is like big city.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, things are fast and there's tons of people around. Like I can never say I feel isolated like I did when I was in Connecticut. But for me being an introvert, it's hard. It was very hard for me to step forward and say, hi, my name's Pamela. I work from home. I'm, hello, nice to meet you. How's your dog? Whatever, while I'm out for walks. That was something I had to get up and over. I mean, I lived in the same community for over 50 years. I knew everybody. I knew everybody and everybody knew me for the most part. So coming down here, I was like, bloop, just a blip in somebody's bucket. They were like, yeah, I think somebody new moved in. Like it's very it's different and it is hard, and putting yourself out there. My husband is great at telling me that because he's the extreme opposite of me. He can walk up to complete strangers and be like, hey, my name's John, how are you, and strike up a conversation with them, where it comes not as natural to me. So I am learning to get past all of that. It kind of reminds me of that. Remember that Sandra Bullock movie where and it was a long time ago, she worked from home through the internet back before people even knew you could do that. She knew nobody. Like she literally even called to have her dinner. She'd order her dinner on the internet and they'd come to the door, and she didn't talk to people. So when she found herself figuring, somebody had stolen her identity, nobody even knew who the original Sandra Bullock character was because she never came out of her house.
Right. Hi. We have a tiny morning visitor here.
Oh.
Say hi. Say hi, Pam. Hi. We're having lots of little interruptions this morning, everybody. My apologies. Sometimes my excitement makes the kids excited and they listen even less. So little ones, I excluded, of course, because they're little. But I wanted to pull out in what you were just saying, Pam, about stepping out of your comfort zone in many ways by not just leaving your community and your state, but also moving into a community in a state, in an area, I should say, that is, city, like you said. It feels like city. It feels like a big city to you. I heard you say, and I know that you do this because you talk about this a lot, is about self-care. You have a lot of you put a lot of stock, and I think rightly so personally, but you put a lot of stock in the self-care, and you said like you go on a walk and I would love for you to share with other people, because I'm sure that we have lots of other introverts, you being an introvert, me being an introvert, lots of online entrepreneurs being an introvert, or having those introverted tendencies. I think sometimes as people, but definitely as introverts, we have that struggle because it doesn't always come very natural for us to go talk to new people, even in the online space. And so I'd love for you to talk, just real briefly, if you would, about how it is that we can sort of plan to meet with other people, whether it's online or in person, by using some self-care techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I mentioned the walk for one. Obviously walking, so that's the in-person part of it. When we go down to the pool, just running into people. When we're out doing errands, I mean, there's no reason why you can't have your business card handy with you, and you can come across people while you're waiting in line at a store. They may mention something that makes you think, oh, wait a minute, they need this service, or it's somebody I could reach out to. And in the same respect, in the online space, I mean, I'm huge for networking and collaboration with people, and just being able to offer a coffee chat to someone, no strings attached. Get to know me, I get to know you, we talk,
Mhm.
See if there's anything in common. That all of that helps build that. But I think even taking a step back before you think to do that, you need to put that stuff on your calendar.
Mhm.
You need to set that goal for yourself. You want to have coffee chats or you want to network with people, put that out on your schedule. What's a good goal for you? Is, once a week or 4 times a month or twice a month? Is that starting out on the smaller scale? So of course it doesn't consume your entire business, but being able to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. If I'm going to reach out and network with someone 4 times this month, that means it's a minimum of once a week that I need to do that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's a really important piece of it.
Yeah, and I'll say, and I know that some of our audience listeners and my followers know that I talk about how important it is for me to do self-care just to run my business. Forget about meeting people and talking to people. I need to do self-care just so that I can be present in my business
Yeah.
and in my life.
Yeah.
So I like how you said to schedule it in, because I know, and actually, and for those of you who maybe missed it, I did an interview a couple of months ago, and one of the things that we talked about was block timing, or block scheduling, and how important and helpful that it can be to have those blocks of time for not just business specific activities, but truly like blocks of time. I set my day up so I have a few hours in the morning, a few hours in the afternoon is a different block of time, few hours in the early evening, and a few hours in kind of the later evening. And within that, I may have specific activities, or it may be sort of like free time, like it's free for all. Like I could be playing at the house, or I could be playing with the kids, or I could take them to the park. It could be, prepping whatever, or I could connect with somebody.
And you don't know what that's going to look like. You've got your time blocks there. So okay, I've set aside, I don't have any meetings between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. So each day that might look different for you.
Mhm.
Or maybe every Tuesday you use that for your network time. But the other 3 Tuesdays of the month, you decide that you're going to sit down with a cup of tea and read your book. I mean, it's just reaching out and talking to people, knowing you've got those blocks on your schedule of you time to take care of you, to provide what you need. And you meaning everyone's an individual, so not everybody's going to operate the same way. Not everybody's going to have the same needs, but there is that need that everybody has to take care of themselves, because if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't show up 100% for your family, for your friends, for your clients. Self-care is a huge, huge piece. And I mean, just even one piece of it, setting those boundaries and saying no. I mean, for years, I was unable to say no. I just said yes.
Yeah,
and everybody counted on me. Yeah, everybody counted on me to say yes. So when I did start to say no, they didn't know like how to react to that.
Who is this? Who are you?
I'm like, well, you always bake brownies for that, or you've headed up that fundraiser for the last 7 years. And I'm like, not doing it this year. Find somebody else, which sounds kind of like cruel and cold to say, but really not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I did my piece, and now it's time for somebody else to do their piece, because my focus has changed. My priorities have changed. It's important to me to focus on this business piece. It was important for me to focus on getting my house ready to sell and moving. I had a lot of other things that took priority over that. And that's tough for a lot of people, is to sit there and really they struggle with what their priorities are, because they hear what other people say they should be. But only you know what those priorities have to be.
Yeah, I love how you brought in that that very often people are thinking about or concerned with what other people think your priorities should be. And the one thing that I latched onto that, so this goes to expectations is a word that I like to use. And what the word that I latched onto is should. So I'll just tell very quickly a personal story. Once upon a time, I had a very, 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 I don't know how many more times I can say very hard time with expectations. I naturally am a high expectation person. I hold myself to a high expectation and high standards. This idea of perfectionism and needing to like have things in order and all of that kind of stuff. And we're not going to go into all the psychology of that and all of that. But one of the things that I did is that I learned that I would should on myself, right? Stop shoulding on yourself. People would say, stop shoulding on yourself all the time. I'm like, what? I've never heard this. What are you talking about? Like, I'm just doing all the things that are supposed to be done. No, you don't have to do all those things. And so in the process of letting go of a lot of things and sort of seeing that other part of me, I'm like, oh, this is definitely a good quality. However, it's a little extreme. And so one of the things that I did, and I had to do this in so many ways, is eliminate the word should. I could not use it. And in fact, I would ask other people not to use it around me. So for instance, somebody's like, oh, but you should do such and such. And maybe it's a very valid thing, but it was such a triggering word for me that I would say, excuse me, I'm sorry. I know that you probably don't mean this, but I can't use the word should. So can we maybe say, it might be nice if I did, or could I try to do, as opposed to saying should to me, this is really hard for me. And what's funny is that some people were like, you don't talk to me like that. Like, you don't tell me what to say. And, or other people were like, I totally understand what you're saying. And no, I didn't mean that. It just kind of slipped out. And it took me, I want to say that I was on this mission for like close to a year of like, there is no shoulds. I had to stop. I would physically stop myself if I thought a should thought, and I had to change it to a could thought, or a possible, or I had to put a word that to me was lighter and less triggering, a little easier, a little more flowing. Today I can use the word should and I can see it for what it is, but I can still catch myself. So I love the way that you sort of weaved all that in, and how it is so frequent that we all should on ourselves or allow other people to should on us.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
You gave a lot of tips because I know you have them and you practice them. But I would also like to hear a little bit, if you could share with people how a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper, if you're willing, on how it is that because all of your clients and most of the people you talk to are business building, they're in the entrepreneur business ownership world. How is that self-care piece tied to the success and sustainability of their business?
Yeah. Well, that's where the priority comes into play. Like, as I talk to people, they've got, X, Y, and Z all over the place. This is what's happening. This is what I thought was going to be happening, but it's not happening. And I don't know how to fix it. And it comes back to, you need to set goals. You have to be able to set goals. They have to be realistic goals. And part of that being realistic is, where are your priorities? So for instance, if somebody wants to, make $100,000, but they're only willing to work 5 hours a week, it's going to be a longer process to get to that point. Mm-hmm. I have had a recent client that I worked with that in the beginning was a struggle, because I was listened to everything that they needed, wanted systems, processes, things to help them have their day smooth, run more smoothly. So here's your list of things that you could go after. So whether they were programs or fixing your calendar with block scheduling or, a myriad of different solutions for them. They found fault with every single solution until it came down to the point where she admitted to me one day, she said, look, I'm never going to find the best solution because I really don't even want to have to deal with any of this. Like I just want to wake up, have my business, make money for me, and go back to sleep. And I'm like, well, it just doesn't work like that. You still need to put the effort in and the time in. And it doesn't matter if you have the best programs or apps or helpful things in the world. Somebody has to be running them. Somebody needs to be keeping an eye on everything.
Yeah.
And so if you're not willing to do that, you can get someone who will oversee it. But as a business owner, you always need to have one eye on, how your business is organized, what the goals are, the financial piece of it. All those things come into play. Whether you've got the background for it, the patience for it, you don't have to be perfect at it, but you need to have a handle on it and you need to be willing and able to try. So I think that's a big piece of it. It comes down to, can you prioritize? What is the most important thing that you need to get accomplished? I always tell people, pick 3 things. Pick 3 things that you really want to get accomplished and get them done. And then they're checked off your list. If you still have days, hours in your day looming before you, then you can pick and choose other things from your task list, which probably has 187 things on it, but you've done the 3 most important things. I mean, that's the way you kind of have to look at it. What's urgent, what's most important, let's get it done, and then move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. And one of the things in all of that is, and it goes back to the willingness, is so something I heard recently or somebody reminded me of is, are you willing to be uncomfortable and do the work so that you can achieve this, whatever the goal is, that probably that goal is actually designed so that I could potentially be more comfortable. So am I willing to do the work to become more comfortable or not, is the question.
You have to, with owning your own business, most people are like, I always tell people it's really easy to start a business. It's not so easy to make it successful or sustainable or profitable because it takes work. It does take work. You can't just wake up and say, well, yesterday I said that I was offering this really cool thing. How come nobody signed up for it? Or where are my clients? I mean, you have to do the work around it. And it's the same exact thing. Making, self-care. Is that your number one thing? If you take care of yourself, everything else starts to kind of fall into place. What makes you who you are? I get up in the morning and I do my prayer, I do my meditation, I go out for my walk, I come back, I get ready for the day, I go to work. That's what makes me. I give myself breaks. I like to read. I like to go out and have coffee with my newfound friends out here. There's a lot of things that I weave into the day, but I know if I weave too much of that stuff throughout the day, that my work hours become smaller. So if I'm not accomplishing something that's on that list, and at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I didn't get to X, Y, and Z. Well, that better be on the list for tomorrow, because you have, I think it's up to each individual how much time and energy and focus are you willing to give up to make your dream come true.
Yeah, it is. It's totally, and again, the planning and the reviewing, because we have to put flexibility in, which we already talked about before, and that you just talked about again, is like, oh, well, this was really important to be done today. I'll give a prime example. My husband and I basically spent probably 3 hours yesterday that I had in my schedule as like, I'm going to do some sort of learning development kind of stuff. However, my husband had enough energy to be present in the conversation so that we could hash out some things and look at some more details as it relates to some big decisions that we're making for our family. And so we took about 3 hours yesterday doing that. And you know what I did? I moved that development stuff. I put it in different places. I broke it up differently, and it didn't get done yesterday, but it will get done. And one of them got even moved to today.
Because the higher priority was when your husband was available to have that conversation, you also had that time, so you needed to connect.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what it is when, you know, people are like, oh, I'm looking at my schedule and time blocking doesn't work because it says from, 2 to 4 p.m. I'm supposed to be writing a blog, but there's no thoughts in my head. But those thoughts are there from other days. You've kept track of them in a notebook or in a system somewhere. Or, okay, so that's not your day you're going to write blogs. Take something from another day and put it in there. That they're like puzzle pieces that you can kind of move around until they connect with how you're feeling and how your day is going. I mean, let's face it, some mornings we wake up and we're like, really? This just isn't working. I've had plenty of those days. Everything I touch doesn't work. Tech is all messed up. I can't find notes from something. I have a cancellation, whatever's going on. And after a while, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go read.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the teapot on. I'm going to grab my book. I'm going to read. Could be 30 minutes. It could be 2 hours. I might not go back to the office that afternoon. I might take the rest of the day off because that's where I was. But then when I go back the next day, I'm refocused, I'm re-energized, I'm ready.
And it always feels, I don't know about you, I would venture to say it does, but it always feels so much more, I feel so much more accomplished and productive if I really have said on those kind of days, like, you know what, this is not working, I'm done. Nope, not happening. Whether it be, I have gotten recently back into reading myself, or maybe it's like taking a bath in the middle of the afternoon if you like baths and just kind of like just sitting there. Or maybe you journal extra because your journal was interrupted that morning or something. Like if something changes or shifts, taking that time to say, okay, what do I think I really need? Or if it's like a binge cleaning the house, like, you know what, everybody up right now, we're sweeping, we're mopping, we're like, pick up all these toys. I don't want to see them anymore. I need the space to be cleared out. And
checking in with yourself. The key is check in with yourself and then give yourself permission to do what you need to do. It's okay. It's all going to work out. And that's the wonderful part about being an entrepreneur. I know people will make a list of pros and cons, but this is one of the biggest pros is that you have the space. You can create that time to focus on what you need to. And if that means you're going to focus on taking a 3-day weekend and then, do the rest of the stuff next week you have, that's great because that's what you needed to do. You can't do that in a typical 9-to-5 job. I woke up this morning, as my husband used to say, I woke up this morning and I couldn't see myself going to work today. So, really, who's going to listen to that? Unless you get X amount of personal days, you can't do that over and over again. And can you do that over and over again in your business so that your 8-hour time frame is consumed with all self-care? No, but that's where the balance comes in. You give yourself enough of that self-care, enough of that positive mindset and that motivation, you're going to want to crank out 6 hours worth of work.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you most certainly are. You most certainly are. And just really quick, because I think this is a good point in our conversation. If you would really quickly, and then I see that we're needing to wrap up. But just really quick, I know that you talk a lot about having these pillars when it comes to business, and that is one of the things that you definitely help. In addition to the accountability and the goal setting and all of that. But one of those things is you have these pillars, I think it's 5 that you talk about. And so if you could just really briefly just tell people, like, what are these 5 pillars when it comes to business? Because I think that the pillars that you use as a framework are also very useful for this part of the conversation where we're talking about balance and self-care and life and flexibility and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so this is a good time for a break so I can call my pillars up. I know the first one is no.
I surprised her, everybody. I didn't tell her that we were gonna bring this up. I wasn't sure if we were, but it fits perfectly right now.
No, it does. It absolutely does, because it's so important to have not only, I'm so passionate about having a business plan, and people are gonna, they hear that and they're like, oh, a business plan. I'm a solopreneur. How much can my business plan be? But your business plan is really what's driving your operational, your financial piece, your marketing piece, all the things that you need. And on top of that, it gives you your why.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you, I'm losing my train of thought here. It gives you your why, and it gives you
your
vision for your business. There was something else.
Your plan. I'm trying to, I'm like, what are some words that I know that she uses when she talks about it?
Oh my gosh. It drives your goals. Hello. Thank you. So yeah, it drives your goals. Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
I'm telling you.
All this talking, it's like switching around.
All right. So 5 pillars of belief is what we're talking about. And of course, my 5 pillars of belief. And this is, I always tell people, your business is just a blip in your life. So your life is your life. This is why you're here. Your business is just like a small piece of it. You need all those other pieces to fit in too. Your personal, your family, your friends, your volunteer time, whatever makes you tick. So I always relate my 5 pillars of belief, not only to people who run a business, but to life overall. And of course, it's kindness and compassion that goes a long way, because without kindness and compassion, those are that's what makes me tick. That's what made me want to do this business. I wanted to combine my love of helping other people, all this time that I spent in my community and helping other people. I wanted to couple it with, I can make money doing this. I know I can. I just need to figure out what that business plan is. But the kindness and compassion is what really drove me to starting this whole thing. And then, of course, being genuine and trustworthy. I think those are things that were instilled in me when I was young. Those are things that I saw as I was growing up. And of course, those are things that you think about when you're running for political office, making sure that you are being as honest and trusting, showing people that they can trust you. And the same relates to the business world, especially the online business, of building that no trust factor. I'm trying to think. The other one, staying humble. See, I'm remembering now. So staying humble, and I think that's something that is a little off the mark for some people. They look at that and they're like, stay humble. It's hard in this online world where you need to put yourself out to other people and say, look at all these wonderful, shiny things I have for you. But staying humble in that, yes, you know that you're experienced, you know you're an expert in these things, but not making that be thrown into someone else's face. Doing it in a way that combines that being genuinely you and being kind and compassionate to people. It kind of comes full circle in there. And I know I talked about the other one, setting boundaries, learning when to say no. It's a difficult part. It probably has been one of my biggest struggles throughout my entire life. When I look back, saying no was really, really hard for me to do. I mean, hey, I raised 5 kids, 4 of them were boys. It's hard for me to say no. And then, yes. I know it's kids, and now I've got grandkids. So, you know, I'm trying.
You're a work in progress, but we're all works in progress, Pam. So it's all good.
And then just learning and growing and knowing that really is part of life. Everybody goes through it. And beyond that, if you can't stop learning. You can't stop learning. There's something new every day. You have to focus in on what you're going to learn about. You know, like Friday afternoons, I set on my schedule, that's my learning time. So if I have a course that I'm taking, or, you know, I wanted to listen to something else and get more information on it, or do some in-depth research on something, that's the time that I really set aside for that. And then the growing piece is just everybody who's out there and taking your aha moments and your little gold nuggets from what they say and pulling them out so that they're, you know, they become a part of you, a part of you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those 5 pillars. And the one observation that I have about the 5 pillars, that I always have about the 5 pillars, is how seamlessly they actually all weave together and build upon one another. Which is why I thought that it was a good point in our conversation. We had talked about self-care and all of these kind of things, and some of that stuff was coming in, and I'm like, I think she should just highlight all of these pillars. Because they're so important. And as you mentioned, they're not just important for business, they're important for life. They're really life pillars, or life, I don't want to call them goals, but sort of standards, maybe is a good way to say it.
Standards, exactly.
Right, place.
Yep.
Yes, okay. So very quickly before we go, well, 2 things before we go. I do the Starlight round of questions. It's 3 questions. I think they're relatively surface, but they kind of dig just a hair. The only caveat is that you cannot in any way self-edit. So the first thing that pops in your head, you've got to put it out there. Okay, gotcha. The first thing that pops in your head, you've got to put it out there. The reason is that sometimes what happens is we self-edit to a fault, and we back away from things. Here we go with like the mindset and the self-care and stuff, and so
the shoulds.
So I always want to hear what people's answer to these questions are off the top of their head, because sometimes it's the most accurate and most true, even if it changes tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's do the Starlight round of questions, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. And I always ask them out of like different orders. So today I am going to ask you. You kind of touched on this, so let's just go over this one really quickly. What is your biggest personal change, and what was your biggest personal change in the process of building your business?
Yeah, moving from Connecticut to South Carolina and making this a truly 100% virtual business. I think, yeah, I know we did talk about that, and that has probably been the biggest one so far.
That was my mom face. That was my mom. Now I'm getting really annoyed face. So yes, that was very big for you. I know that was very big for you. And I would venture to say that it's only been a year and a couple of months. I mean, we're in September, so it's only a year and July, August, up to 2 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is actually just the moving process.
Exactly.
I recall that it took you, if I recall correctly, it took a month or two for you to get even your office space set up properly.
Oh yeah, because we came down here and then I had to go up for a family vacation and a wedding, came back down here, got evacuated for a hurricane for 2 weeks, got back here. I mean, I literally didn't even finish unpacking and setting up my office until probably October.
So maybe you've been in your space for a year. Like you physically have been there, but your business has really kind of had its own space for a year, actually, this month.
Yes, exactly.
Just a little funny little observation anecdote there. Okay. Right. So the next question that I want to ask you is, I know that we're very close to the end of the year, so if you have already thought about this and started your planning process for next year, that's okay to answer for that question. But you're welcome to still answer for this year. What is or was your biggest dream goal for this year? And is there a way that we can help you to reach that goal?
My biggest dream goal for this year was to get my group coaching model, which is like an ongoing membership program, up and running. And I've done it. So I am super excited about that. And as the months go by, so I started it in February, and as the months go by, it's getting better every month. So you can't really ask for a better gauge than that. So yeah, I think that was my number one target goal for this year.
Yes. Yes. And I remember you launching that, and I was like, oh, that's so exciting. Yes, it's very cool. It's very cool. I suggest you go check it out, everybody. I think it's way more value for the cost, even if that group coaching model is something that you want to test out. And just because we're talking about it, just very briefly, people can move in and out of that. Is that correct?
People can move in and out of that. Yep. Paid by the month.
Yeah, so it's not a commitment. So go test it out. I suggest you check it out, but we'll talk about that in a second. So that is really awesome. I'm glad that you reached that. So that's really good. And last question is, tell me what your biggest life or business challenge is right now, how we can support you with that or help you with that, and how you would like to see that change.
I think my biggest one right now is, that's a tough one. My biggest one right now that I am working on is making one place to house my material. So instead of having to go to Thinkific for this and over to this site for that, I kind of want to put it under one
umbrella.
One little portal that people can say, oh, here's her freebie stuff. Here's her group program stuff. Here's her one-on-one. Here's the consulting package. There you go. And it's all there. So I do have that. I am making headway with it. I finally have made some decisions around it. So now it's the chore and the labor of love of putting everything onto that platform. So my goal is to have that done by the end of this year.
That is okay. First of all, that's a really, really, really big goal because I know that you have more than enough material.
Yes.
And to have it in different places is a challenge in and of itself. But all the stuff that you have and all the stuff that you're still creating for your clients and your prospects is pretty massive. So that's a really big goal. You've only got a couple months left to get that done. So everybody support Pam by keeping her accountable.
Good vibes, people.
Sending those good vibes so she can get that. That's a massive chore. Trust me, that is a huge chore. And
yes, but it's going to be such a smoother workflow, not only for the people that I work with, not only for the prospects, not only for them, but for me. Like I can say, this is my portal. There you go.
Yep.
It's just so much nicer.
Exactly. And there are some portals. I'm not sure which one you're using. You don't need to share it if you're not comfortable, but I know that I've seen some portal type systems that other people use, and they can be so seamless. And you get to see like, oh, this person has these products or services as well, that I can talk to them about, or, you know, purchase for access or things like that. And I think that's really wonderful. So I'm glad that you've made some headway there. And we will hold you accountable, and we will encourage you to keep plugging in the little piece of data every single day.
Perfect.
That's how it gets done, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right. So now that we're at the end, thank you again for for answering those Starlight Round questions. But before we go, let's remind people really quick, in case they forgot, or in case they are new to you. Let's let them know where they can find you. She wants the headphones. She's a little confused right now. Here. Okay. But let's remind people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you in all of the various platforms that you exist.
Oh my goodness, I'm telling you. Well, the best place to find out all about what I do, all about me, and how to connect with me is through my website. Super easy, brickwallcoach.com. It's got everything from there. You can find my social media platforms, and I do have my YouTube that came out finally this year, and I have been very successful with making sure that I upload a video a week, which I'm excited about. Another goal that I set, I'm telling you, sometimes when you make these goals and start checking them off, you're like, finally.
Yeah.
But yes, best place, brickwallcoach.com.
Okay, right. And I know that that you also have socials. You mentioned LinkedIn. I definitely know that you're there, and Facebook. I know you're in other places too, but definitely we are going to send people to your website. We'll drop the link below and make sure that everybody has access to that, so that they can find you and all of your social channels on that website. Her website's pretty easy to navigate, so just go visit. It's easier that way. Okay, and then tell us just again, very, very briefly, what it is that you do, how you help people, and then I guess we'll be done.
Well, I help people by creating success plans. So what that looks like is taking your business plan, taking your mission statement, making your goals, and then making them chunked up into manageable steps for you. And I do one-on-one. I also do that group coaching. So the group coaching is a piece of not only the business building, but the accountability. And included in that is the 2 big co-working sessions every single week that come along with it.
And don't forget all of the trainings that you do.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I run like workshops probably 6 times a year. December, of course, is going to be your cleaning up the year and looking at the financial piece and getting everything organized and doing your look back. And then January, the goal setting, and a lot of that. Time management, all those things. Yep.
Yes. So again, go to the website, find her social links, start following her, sign up for her newsletter, all those good things, because you don't want to miss a lot of those workshops and events that she does. Okay. So thank you again, Pam, for being here, part of our series, part of my series, I guess, but I like to call it ours. I don't know. But thank you for being part of the series again, the Sparkle and Shine series. I had a wonderful time having a conversation with you today. Lots of good nuggets, lots of good experience, lots of good knowledge, and just sort of, hey, this is life and all is well. So thank you for being part of it. I appreciated your insights and your thoughts on, harvesting, planning, reviewing, saving, all of those good things. And everybody make sure that you check out all the links below. We are going to make sure that I'll make sure that those are there. If you have questions, comments, if you're seeing this again on the replay, please let us know. Ask the questions, connect with Pam, connect with me, however it is, but ask the questions, we'll answer them. We'll make sure that we put you in the right direction for various things. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.